So, hello, Catherine Story here. Welcome to my channel, House of Story. Today, I'm super stoked. I want to introduce you to one of my friends who is also an amazing designer who is based here on Laguna Beach. This is her boutique, and we're going to be talking to her about her journey. She has a really interesting journey of how she started designing, and I know you're going to love it. You'll be inspired. I want to introduce you to my dear friend, Kerry Cassill, international rock star, OG designer. We're going to talk to her this morning in her beautiful boutique, but this is her life. So, hi. Yeah. It's like a perfect summer day, and gosh, I really want. I'm so inspired by your story, and I want my people to hear it. Self-made, amazing.
True. It's funny. It's all kind of came together, and in fact, I don't even think I put the pieces together till I'd been doing this for so long, and then looking back, I can start with I when I went to fashion school, I think I was really lucky to have been funded because the government used to help us go to school. And
That was in Seattle.
that was in Seattle. And I got to shop really, really nice fabrics because the money was there to work with what I wanted. And I think at the same time as going to school for design, I got a real background, a real taste for fabrics that were high quality. So I, many years later, bumped into a great shop in France and found this dream fabric, which is like a cotton voile, which was rarely available in the US at the time. And I was inspired to go start shopping and going to India, and I started a little collection.
So back up for a minute.
Okay.
You found the fabric that you fell in love with,
Yes.
and you were going to buy yardage.
Well, I was like the squeaky wheel trying to get my hands on this fabric from a French designer.
No.
No, no, yeah, yeah. So, at the time, I had a little hat shop in Seattle, and I remember calling, like looking through my phone book, because we always kept like the paper phone book. And when I'd see the name of the shop in Paris, I would be like, oh, I should call them again. And they definitely didn't want to deal with America. So it was always no, no, no. And then finally I said, I think you're going to be wholesaling the yardage. And really, that's exactly what I'm after. I want to make shirts. And the shop girl in Paris said, no. I mean, no, maybe you're right. But it's not me you would talk to. You would call so-and-so in India. And I was like, hey, okay, great, finally. And so I called the people in India, and their response was really nice. They were like, absolutely, that's no problem. Come on over. And I just remember being on the phone going, go to India, like thinking it in my head, like, oh my God, what? And so I was a little overwhelmed. Yeah. 1992. And I did start going to India in 92. So I went over and found the place, found the people. They were really great. Told us where to stay and everything. I went with a girlfriend. We went through Amsterdam. Amsterdam won the World Cup that day. So we were at a restaurant, and I said, oh my God, this is the only day we're here. And there was like chanting in the streets, and yeah, they'd beat Milan. And the waiter said, this is the only night to be here. So that was like everything was blessed along the way. I mean, honestly. So I bought a bunch of hat bodies in Amsterdam. We made it to the the place where they had the fabrics, and I got to know them and started picking out a bunch of different yardage to take home. And the people said, "Well, what are you going to make?" And I said, "Well, I'm making a long sleeve blouse, and I still sell it. It's called the rocker shirt." And they said, "Well, do you want us to make that for you?" And I said, "Well, I mean, I have a sample and I have the pattern here, but we're only here for 10 days. And they said, that's okay. Like, we'll do it." And so we got to go back and see the sewers and come back every few days, and the shirts were stacking up and everything was gorgeous, and, French seams and pearl buttons. And I mean, it was just a miracle. Like, seriously, I was going to go back to my hat store and start making these shirts.
Wow.
But instead, I came home and everything was.
Brought a bunch home.
Oh, yeah. We had duffels. We came home with our duffels, and we also brought extra stuff that the designer was Bridget Singh. She's like the queen of printed textiles, and so inspirational and just amazing. So, yeah, I came back and started to rep some of her fabrics and bedding, sold my shirts like instantly, got a handful of stores to buy my stuff, and then went right back to India and did it again and again and again.
Eventually you started
Pretty quickly. It was couldn't really schlep it back or keep telling the customs guide, "These are for me and my sister."
So you had to learn how to. Suddenly, you went from designing. It's so fascinating to me. You went from designing.
Yeah.
You found you didn't give up on
what I want.
calling you.
Yeah.
And then you grew to the next level, which was importing.
Right.
Designing long distance.
And at that point, I had to do my own prints and could do my own stuff.
Was it the same family?
I had met other people that were printers by that time.
Right.
And so I got some stuff going with this family that I used in the beginning. I bought all white stuff from. And I knew she had worked for Inoki, like when in her design process or school. So she knew about how to do prints. And I was like, "Please, will you do prints for me? Can I do my own?" And then she was like, I'm sure she's still like blown away that she went from the simple life of just doing white stuff,
Right.
to this complicated 1,000,000 prints a year thing. But yes, I've worked with the same people for
I love that.
more than 30 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you've had so eventually you were drawn to Laguna because
Well, I lived here in the 80s before I started the collection, and it's such a beautiful beachy vibe. And as my line grew, Seattle didn't make a ton of sense because it's cold and the fabrics were a little more suited to being here. So, and also I felt like I couldn't see, and I was young and I could really see then too. So, but everything was sort of backlit, like, cause it's gray skies. And so just working with color was kind of difficult. And here, I mean, you can see this light it's sort of pink, and there's only a few places in the world where you actually have pink light. Yeah, Paris and Jaipur, India, which is where I worked in my stuff. Yeah, and Laguna.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? I did not know that.
Well, don't you feel it now that you think about it?
It's funny. Yesterday, I was even thinking I was seeing pink. I was like, okay, you're losing. Now you're really losing.
But yeah, so it's one of the pink cities.
So you opened your boutique.
So came down here, and well, first of all, I did rep myself, my stuff, and for like 5 years out of Seattle, and the shipments were coming there, and we would ship out of there, and then after about 5 years, I thought, okay, I'm ready to go be in LA. I didn't want to go when I was just like new, and I didn't want somebody to copy me, and so I waited a minute till I really had my feet on the ground, and I could do it, and came down and didn't love the LA life plan. So I was like, well, I'll just go back to Laguna like quickly. and came down, and a little shop kind of fell into my hands in the first year that I was here, and it's right next door to us right now. And I was there for about 8 years, and you were down the street,
Right.
but we were kind of neck and neck, same timing.
How's your day?
You'd be like, I just remember going, "What did you spend for holiday?"
Right? No.
Like,
Lots of mistakes. What would you say?
oh,
I mean, well, listen, making mistakes is part of it, and failure on some things is part of it.
absolutely.
So what would you say you have?
Well, you listen to your gut. So that's ultimate. I had some great reps up in LA, and I remember getting a big order from one of the major department stores, and I said, I don't want to sell to them. And they were like, you have to do this, And I was like, really reluctant. I didn't really want to. I was like, okay, kind of bullied into it. And so we took this giant order. And of course, one of the worst things that can happen when you're selling to stores is if the buyers change. So right before my stuff was coming, there was a change. The buyer left. The new buyer came on, and a new buyer loves to have money to spend. So if there's a big pile of money that was spent by the old buyer, if she could get out of that, that would be fun for her, because then she's got a new pile of money to go spend. And so typical India, I think it came in like a day after the day or something. Yeah. And normally you could talk to somebody and say, oh my God, it's like monsoons or whatever, because India, they have a lot of holidays. They just, they're on a different program. So yeah, she was able to cancel, and I was devastated, like, oh my God. And something like that can really take you down. Like,
So as a wholesaler,
I still have to pay for the goods and the flight.
People might not know how it works when you sell to a store. You have a delivery date.
Yeah.
And in the contract, if the designer doesn't make the delivery date, the person can cancel.
Exactly. So the new buyer got the money to spend somewhere else.
But you sold everything.
And then everything went to my garage, which is when little Ashley started working, and we called her Gigi, Garage Girl. And I was a tiny bit pleased, even though it was going to kind of make the winter rough financially.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to sell to that store. I didn't really. Yeah. So listen to your gut.
Okay. So you were happy, but then like you had the challenge of, okay, how am I going to pay? Like, isn't it funny how when you're going through it, you're really in it, but looking back, you go, well, it just all worked out.
I mean, we sold I don't have any of those skirts anymore. We sold them. We probably, because I probably sold a lot at wholesale to other stores. And I'm sure I sold a lot at my little shop here. And, eventually they were gone. And I'm sure I made more money than I would have, had I sold to this thing. So, but that was a good lesson. And
so have you said no to orders since then when your gut says no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's too much, it's like, no, it's too much. No.
Yeah.
And, but I have had great success with, like doing stuff with anthropology and ABC and, things that are a little more me. I did do Costco, which we were like, that's not to be us, but it's also really fun to work with challenges.
Yeah.
So for me,
which uses you in a different way.
Well, like for a while I was designing prints for a friend who does it's called Direct Pack, and they do packaging for grocery stores and all kinds of, delis, and they go to food shows, and it's a whole fun group. They're all foodies, and I'm a foodie. So but just fun challenges like, what about this hummus company, and I remember thinking, oh, I want to do the lid with this on it, and I don't know, just please get me Taco Bell. I've got such a great idea. I don't know. And I still kind of love to operate that way. I just got a bunch of fabric from my friends down the street that was outdoor fabric, and he just had remnants and nothing really rhymed, or it was like, oh, I'll just see what comes out. I love a challenge like that. And now I have all this patio stuff out in my yard, and I so stand behind it. Like I could have been looking at the Versace catalog, but that would have been fun. But I would have just gotten confused. So I mean, it's human. And it's right? too much good stuff. So it was kind of fun to just pull it together.
So let's just touch on for a second. What happened for you during COVID?
Okay. It's kind of hard to remember. I mean, I did get COVID right at the beginning when we didn't know what it was. Right. And I had just been to Paris and I was everywhere. I was in Paris, India, and ended up in New York with maybe a little break in between at home. But after the New York, which I was kind of wandering around there going, I'm really tired or whatever. Like, I was like, I don't care if I eat dinner at 4.
Right.
I don't know what I'm doing. So I did, and when I got home, I had COVID, and turned out everybody got it. That was the beginning. It was the February New York shows, and whatever, I don't even know what year it was. And then,
and business wise, how was it?
Well, first it was kind of nice to have a little break. Yeah, because we never get to. Right. And I always think, wouldn't it be nice to be closed for holiday? But we missed that, so it was more in the early spring. But it was fun. It was fun to stay home. It was fun for everybody to have a break. Everybody still got paid. Online was okay, so we kept doing that. And then we were allowed to open pretty early in Laguna. So only after a couple of months of being closed, we got to open with masks, and I made masks and then donated all the money from all the masks we sold. And so that was a fun thing to be able to contribute. Right. And we had shorter hours, so we liked that. We just kind of rolled with it. We kept going, and we did really well. People were really in here buying.
People really came out in the community to support this trust that we're here. That's what I found. It was really wonderful.
True. That's true. And then LA had a really severe shutdown. And then when they were able to open, there was riots and they had more shutdown. I mean, it just was terrible up there. So a lot of those people started coming down here because they were like, if we can actually take a walk.
Right. If we can be outside.
Yeah.
Beaches were even closed.
That was silly.
But so I know it does seem like COVID was a long time ago. This really feels like the first summer that it's really gone. Is that how you feel in town?
I mean, I think it feels pretty gone. I mean, I still hear about it because people still get it. Yeah.
But how's your business now?
I think we're back up. We've sort of spent time on our social media, and we've advanced in our online sales, and a lot of shops did close. So that was hard for some of the wholesale work.
How's your wholesale business?
It's still doing good. It's still doing really well. We still, have new stores, and I just started a hotel collection that's coming out. We're going to start selling that this month. And so that'll be delivered, I guess.
What does that consist of?
Some bedding that's got some polyfill. Mm-hmm. So if you really were a boutique hotel and you wanted to wash and wash and wash and wash and wash it, you'd be fine. So they could do that for throws or, mix it in somehow. We do a lot of custom pillows that are specific sizes in my prints. So those, and then just things they could have in little boutique-y gift shops and whatnot too. So sort of, looking at a new group of buyers, and we'll see how we do. It's also going to be available to our other people because it'll be sort of a pre-spring vibe. But it's cute.
So you're excited about the future?
I am. I'm really excited. I'm all the way. well, we're going to shoot spring this week, and that's for 2024. And we're going to, and then up at the office in the design world, I'm pretty much finished through 24. And yeah, I'm about to start working on spring 25.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So it's so cool.
It's fun.
Well, okay. So 2 last questions. So you know that girl in Seattle that did the hat store?
Yeah.
If you go back to her, like, how do you feel? Like, how would she see you today?
Well,
Did she get her dreams?
yeah, huge surprise. But, I think I was right. I used to see ants by my door.
What?
There was like, you get ants.
Like a stream of.
Yeah, I had my little hat shop in Seattle, and it was called Frozen Foods. And because that's the sign that was up there, and a lot of us in Seattle kind of just left things the way they were, and that was the name of your store.
That's fun. I love it.
Yeah. And it wasn't open to the public, but there would be crowds of people out by the window, out in the window going like, this is such a beautiful store. And I'd be on the phone going, I think it's a store. Yeah. But I just did by appointment. And, but there was this one thing, there was all these ants outside. And I thought, oh, money's coming. And I just didn't kill them. I always thought that's what that meant. And when I went to India, they said, oh, yeah, ants mean money.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I totally love that. So you always had that.
So I had that trust that everything was going to be okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I love that, by the way. That's inspiring to all of us, just to really do trust your passion.
Be grateful.
So if there's possibly a lot of young students that are,
of course,
interested in having the life that you've created, what advice?
I think you learn construction, and you figure out what inspires you, pick a lane, maybe, like some people like shoes, some people want to do swim, and it's possible. It really is. And it's, I think you go out and you get your intern job, and you learn from people and learn the portion of the business that you like, and
keep at it. And it's like, you don't start at the top. I think that it sounds like some people think you get to just walk in and be at the top, and it's like you have to learn your craft. Yeah.
I mean, and there's so many now with the social media and everything, there's so many different jobs and things you can do in our profession. And my daughter is right now marketing director at Skims. Her job is styling, and I think she's really good at it. And so, you just kind of, but she's still in school, and she might, get her, I want her to have her eyes set on what's another job over there that you'd like,
That you can be paid to do it.
Yeah. And then you get paid more, and maybe, you just finish up those last 2 years of school.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh yeah, Dean, she did this for marketing coordinator for years, couple of years. And, now she's, looking at this job.
Right.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Or maybe she goes and works somewhere else. I don't know. But, or she starts her own thing.
Still different opportunities than we had, but there's lots of opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And travel is important. I definitely, that trip to Paris, and, being in the south of France when I was 30 years old, that was all like where the magic started.
Well, cool. Well, thank you, love.
Oh, so happy to
introduce you to everyone.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Good luck. Ciao.
So Kerry was really one of the first ones to bring this Indian cotton to the U.S. And if you felt it, it's just like butter. I know you've felt it now. So what do you do as a designer when, after so many years and other people have sort of found out how you're doing it, although they're not doing as good of a job as you, they're not the original. How do you stay relevant? Well, for her, she just stayed in the game, and she kept perfecting footprint and expanding her collection as she went into bedwear. And her boutique is amazing because it's got several different designers that she represents from traveling around the world. So she has really beautiful, beautiful collections as well as her own in her boutique. And I think that's how that stays relevant. For me, that never worked for me. I don't have what she has. I have something different. And it's so wonderful as a designer to have a friend who is also a designer, but not, in the same competing field, where you can bounce ideas off of each other and gain from each other's knowledge. And for sure, she has been a great person for me to bounce ideas off of.